Now is your time to be healed. Pastor Jasanya Whitfield, senior lead pastor of New Covenant Church of Deliverance Outreach Ministries, is pleased to announce and host a time of healing revival. One of God's called to heal the sick, Lincoln Lawson, will be in the building April 8th through 10th, Friday 7 p.m., Saturday 5 p.m., Sunday morning at 11 a.m. One of God's called to heal the sick, Lincoln Lawson, will be in the building. Come get your healing. Stage 4 cancer, heart disease, lung disease, injury, any other rare illnesses and diseases. You will never be the same. It is the time of healing revival. 2947 Old Battleboro Road, Rocky Mount, North Carolina. A divine move of God that you don't want to miss. For more information, please contact Pastor Jasanya at 252-343-5729 or email at contact@nccodom.org. This is a proud sponsor of Endure Entertainment, the home of clean entertainment, with one vision, one goal: to inspire. Author Evangelist Corey Thomas, a dedicated servant leader whose weapons are spiritual in nature and volatile in impact. Hot off the press, author Evangelist Corey Thomas's new book, Sound Advice: Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. Matthew 5:13, ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost his flavor, wherewith shall it be salted? It's author Evangelist Corey Thomas's new book, Sound Advice: Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. Purchase your copy to help maintain that flavor in your spiritual walk. This book is epic. It's sold on every major online bookstore, or go to CoreyThomasMinistries.com. I got my copy. Be sure to get yours. It's author Evangelist Corey Thomas's new book, Sound Advice: Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. Get your copy today.
Thank you for tuning in to I've Got Favor, where it's your time to shine with your host, Prophetess T. Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are on God's green earth. I want to thank you for tuning in to I've Got Favor, where it's your time to shine with me. Your host is Prophetess T. Hey, I want to get into this juicy tea today. Have you ever heard that song, everybody plays the fool? Well, can I tell you that is actually precise. At some point or some aspect of our life, we have all been played. So I want to talk about this thing called gaslighting. And guys, it is so good. We're not going to cover it all tonight. So y'all going to want to continue to tune in the month of April, because we're going to spend the next few Fridays breaking this gaslighting thing down. So before we get started, let's give a shout out to those that make it possible for us to be seen. By talking about our sponsors, first starting with Endure Entertainment Network. And we just love Lady Falana for all that she's doing for us. She has the same goal and the same heart for God's people as we do. And remember, Endure Entertainment is the ministry where they have one vision and one goal, and that is to inspire. So make sure you go check them out on Facebook, follow them, tune in and subscribe to their YouTube channel as well. And then we're going to follow up with the Clean Queen, straight out of Kentucky. Yes, y'all. If you need some organization done in your home, some decluttering, maybe move in or move out ready your home or apartment. If you are in the Kentucky area, check out Miss Dominique, the Clean Queen. Follow her on Facebook as well. You have her contact information right there in the layout. And like I said, she's on Facebook. So if you need anything done in your home, you want to check this young lady out. Then we want to talk about Underground T-shirts. Guys, they do amazing work on t-shirts, on canvas. They make those Yeti cup things, the little tumblers, and a plethora of other items too. There is nothing that these two cannot come up for you. Underground t-shirts. Check them out on Facebook as well. And we want to also talk about Digital's Customs Computer Builds. That is Nick Walker, y'all. You can reach him at 270-312-7554. That's 270-312-7554. Any work that you need done on your computer, debugging, or if you need it customly built, you want to hit Mr. Nick Walker up. And then out of Glendale, Kentucky, we're talking about Mountain Mike's, excuse me, better than Starbucks, y'all. You want to check them out on Facebook to find out what their latest flavor is for the month. That is Mountain Mike's out of Glendale. Make sure you follow them, hit them up, let them know that Prophetess T sent you. And our newest sponsor, Highly Favored Productions. Yes, that is the ministry where music and lyrics come together. You got CD project you want to get started on. If you have lyrics but no music, you have music, no lyrics. You want to do an audio book or a spoken word album, whatever. Check out Highly Favored Productions. They're on Facebook and their website is listed on the layout as well. Highly Favored Productions, y'all. So let's get into it tonight. We're talking about gaslighting. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that or you even understand the definition of it. And can I honestly say that when I started researching this and looking into it, I think I can honestly admit that I've probably been guilty of it without even knowing what I was doing. And we're going to talk about the different facets of gaslighting because there's major gaslighting that goes on that's done by narcissistic people. And then there's, like I said, there's gaslighting that you might be doing unintentionally. So we're going to be aware of these things. For one, we don't want to give room for the enemy to come in and attack us or to use what we got going on for the kingdom of God as a weapon against us. And can I tell you that he gets in our head and in our minds and in our attitudes. And if we don't renew our mind and get a right spirit, if we don't get the mind of Christ and we get rooted in the word of God and we stand firm on what God has declared and spoke over us even before we were formed in our mother's womb, if we don't live that out, actually let our God bridle our tongue and the meditation of our heart be his word, his will. If we don't start looking at things through the mindset and the eye of God, we find ourselves getting into doing things according to Satan's kingdom. We're manipulating people, we're degrading people, we're talking down people, we're not validating their feelings or what they're experiencing because of our own feelings or our own ulterior motives. So there's this thing that's called gaslighting. Gaslighting, y'all. Now, like I said, all of us at some point of our life have experienced that. So I want to talk about what is gaslighting. I want to give you guys the definition of what gaslighting is, first of all, in case you've never heard that term used. So basically, to break it down real simple, like gaslighting is to manipulate by psychological means into questioning their own sanity. So they're actually trying to make you think that your reality is not truth, that you've actually lost your mind, that your perception of things is not valid. It's not truth. Gaslighting happens when an abuser tries to control a victim by twisting their sense of reality. An example of gaslighting would be like when a partner is doing something abusive and they deny that it's even happening. For instance, beating somebody and then telling them that I didn't do that, or I didn't hit you, I didn't abuse you, I was just trying to stop you from leaving because I love you. I was trying to protect you because you don't realize that if you left me, the trouble you would get into. So I had to hold you down. I was trying to keep you from hurting yourself. So I had to keep you bound. So they mess with you and trick you into thinking that isn't what really happened. You're not seeing it right. That's not what you've seen happen. Um, they also convince their victims that they're mentally unfit, or maybe you're too sensitive. You all in your feelings. That is not how it is. You don't feel that way for real. You're just being over dramatic. So, in looking up this word, I actually found out the history of gaslighting. I thought we had a slide on it, but I guess I'll come back to that. Gaslighting actually originated from a play back in 1938, y'all. Um, it was called Gaslight, this play called Gaslight. And then they ended up changing it into a movie called Gaslighting in 1944. Now, the name gaslighting comes from this part of the movie where Antoine, who is the husband, he uses uh, the gas lights that lights up the house. You know, they didn't have light bulbs back in that time. They actually had to light gas in what looked like a light, a lantern. And what would happen is when he would go to a specific area in the house, it would cause the lights, the gas to dim in the drawing room where his wife was. But what he kept telling her was, that's not happening. That's not real. You're imagining that you're seeing that. That's not real. But in reality, it was happening. Now, nobody else that was in the house at the time that this was happening seen that, because they did not know he was in this other area, which was like an attic, I want to say, in the house where they had stuff stored. Because he had boarded that part of the house up, and he would leave the house. So nobody knew he was sneaking back into the house from the roof down into the attic. And every time he would cut the gas light, lanterns on in the attic, it would cause the lighting in her drawing room to dim. So he started making her think she was crazy. And since nobody else in the house seen that happen, because it only happened in that room, and they didn't see when the light would dim. They would come in after the situation or before the situation. So they didn't see the change. So he started manipulating. So out of that scene, out of that movie, they came up with this name for what he was doing to her, which was gaslighting, which was, like I said, it comes from the intention to displace blame, making you question your recollection of an event, or even to reconsider your own integrity and ability to make sound decisions. So throughout this movie, Gaslighting, Anton begins to manipulate his wife by convincing her, you're forgetful. You know, you got a bad habit of forgetting stuff or losing stuff, putting stuff down and not remembering where you put it. Man, or when I tell you stuff, you don't remember it. Now, she was okay in the beginning of their relationship, but all of a sudden when she gets with him, there's all these little things that she supposedly is doing. And she's like, oh, no, what do you mean I'm forgetful? No, I'm not forgetful. What do you mean that I pick stuff up and don't remember tape, picking it up and putting it somewhere else? But he starts messing with her mind. I mean, he's feeding this narrative to her. And then he does stuff to manipulate that so that it looks like it's true. So during this movie, I don't want to, if you get a chance, you want to go back and watch this movie and see if in any type of relationship that you've been a part of, if any of that has been you in that relationship, in relationships that you've been in, where somebody, they they kind of manipulate you into believing that you're the issue, or that you're imagining things, or that you're the one with all the problems and it's not them. um, the only way they know on how to control you is to convince you that you're out of your mind, because he gets her to a point in this movie where he keeps her to himself. He doesn't allow her to leave the house. He don't allow her to be around other people, because he's now, when you don't have, when you don't engage other people, and you got somebody in your head all the time telling you things, you can be manipulated or influenced more. So another thing that I found out too is, in this person doing this to you, individuals who gaslight are usually silently and intensely critical of themselves. So they don't think very much of themselves either. So this is another form of controlling. So the only way they know to manage these big feelings is to manipulate others into believing that they're the cause of the problem. So to make themselves feel more sane, so to speak, they start manipulating others and tricking them and coercing them. So, like I said, there are different facets to this thing, gaslighting. And I want to cover it not in one setting. I want to deal with it as we go through the month of April, if you guys will hang in there with me. So as we get into this, you guys, make sure you leave me messages, inbox me questions. Any of your comments, feel free to post them. If I miss it while we're doing the podcast, I will go back later and check. And maybe if you're embarrassed to even admit this is you, or maybe you got questions that maybe I didn't cover, that you might think that possibly is you or somebody you know, please feel free to inbox me and talk to me about it. And we're also going to have a therapist, remember, on here, a clinical a therapist who's going to help us with some therapeutic information on how to deal with somebody if you're in this type of relationship. How to notice the signs, or maybe you're starting out in a relationship, some red flags that you can look for that might be saying danger, danger, danger. You don't want to get into this relationship. So let's talk about one of the facets to gaslighting. Like I said, gaslighting might include deliberate deceit, passive aggressiveness, defensiveness, sarcasm, undermining someone else's experiences. Um, like I said, anybody can gaslight. It's usually it's a tactic of an abuser that they use to exert power and control in their relationships. And the majority of relationships that you see a lot of gaslighting in usually is it's a male dominant thing, but it does not mean that females are incapable of doing that. It does not mean that. Now, gaslighting entails intentionally twisting or changing or otherwise distorting reality to manipulate how others think or feel. Y'all hear me on that? Gaslighting entails intentionally twisting, changing, or otherwise distorting reality to manipulate how others think or feel. All right. So I'm giving y'all some examples to look at in this overlay. You might hear somebody say, you're the one that needs help. Oh God, you're so emotional. Why are you always being so defensive? Now, if that would have been me, I wouldn't have done that to you. I'm not like that. I wouldn't do that to you. Uh Man, why you always twisting up my words? Girl, boy, you're imagining things. I did not do that. You know what? You're the one with the problem. No, it wasn't me flirting with that person. It was them doing it. You're blaming me for messing with your girlfriend, but she's trying to hit on me. You need to get at her. Why you getting upset over nothing? It was just an innocent uh conversation. You don't have to get all worked up. Man, I didn't mean it like that. You taking everything I say out of context. I never did that. Why are you saying I did that? That's not true. Why are you always lying on me? Why are you always lying about your situation? Why why are you even here if you think I'm so terrible? Won't you just go on and leave? Oh, quit feeling sorry for yourself. Ah, it's not a big deal. You know what? It's your fault. It's your fault that your family don't want nothing to do with you or they don't come over here. Man, that that makeup you got on looks like a clown costume. I was just joking. I'm just kidding. What do you mean? That's what I did. No, you're remembering that whole thing wrong. Oh my gosh, you're so dramatic. You need to calm down. You're being oversensitive. That is kind of what gaslighting sounds like. This is what the person gets in your head and begins to mess with you about. They make you start feeling confused. You start feeling insecure. You feel lonely. You're afraid. You don't trust your thought process. You you doubt anything that you're thinking. you know, gaslighting is a tactic in emotional abuse and narcissistic abuse. Um, it can happen not only in your home, but it can happen at your job. It can happen with your friends. It can happen in intimate relationships, husband, wife, girlfriend, and boyfriend relationship. It can even happen at church, believe it or not. Amen. Many times it follows a typical pattern. One person will repeatedly gaslight another person, and it becomes an inherent part of an imbalanced dynamic. So, I mean, this is the thing about it. When they first start out in becoming a friend or an associate or in an intimate relationship with you, they don't come across as being this way. Um, they do something that's called love bombing. So they lift you up and make you feel wonderful. Um, and then they get you all involved in them and all wooed. It's like they start throwing little dibs at you to test you out, to see how they've got you. It might start with like sarcastic comments. They might start saying little things to you. And narcissists, like I said, and abusive and toxic relationships, they start telling you things that aren't truth about yourself. Like I said, in the movie, what he did was he started telling her that she was forgetful. Never had that issue before. Never had that problem before. And then he would do things. He would move stuff in the house, or he would put an item somewhere, show her that he put it somewhere, and then later on ask her about it and make her think that she did it. And so she started really questioning herself. Like, I knew I didn't do it. I knew I didn't do it. So you know what he started doing then? He would get witnesses to the fact that, okay, so you think so and so did it then. The maids did it. So let me call the maid up here and say that. And this is what they do. They start making you look stupid or ignorant or forgetful or off your rocker, so to speak, in public. so that they can affirm that they're accusing you of or validate it by somebody else being a witness to it. And it not even be true. But now this person doesn't realize that you're being manipulated either, because he's making or she's making sure that they see you start acting some kind of way. You're not acting the way maybe they remembered you or know you or more familiar with you acting. And this is the thing that I think friends, our true friends, should start paying attention. And you as a friend should start paying attention too. When you see a friend that's getting into a relationship where there's signs of this going on, bring it to their attention. Or if you're in a relationship right now where that is happening to you, you want to bring that to attention. Let them know, I see you. I see what you're doing, and I'm not going to tolerate it. I'm not just going to buy into that narrative. If you know that is not you, stand firm on that. And you need to realize that's a flag. That's a red flag right there. You need to start paying attention to that relationship. And you might want to start pulling back a little bit. You might want to start pulling back and really looking at that relationship. So like I said, there are different facets to gaslighting. So one of the examples that I wanted to talk about tonight is what we call distracting with compassion. So gaslighting partners will often sugarcoat toxic situations with kind platitudes as a way to distract their partner from their feelings. So they make it look like they're on your side when actually they're not on your side. Or think about Ike and Tina Turner. Every time Ike would beat Tina, he would come back with a gift. Or like, I didn't mean that. It's just that, I got all this pressure on me. It's just that all these people are dependent on me. And sometimes I get a little worked up. And then when you're coming at me, if you would just get the song right, Tina, if you would just learn the words, then, he would try to woo her with gifts or make her feel like she was wonderful and beautiful and she was good, even after what he did to her, degrading her, even raping her, taking her self-value away. And so now she started making up excuses for what he was doing to her friends who were noticing this. Like, no, you don't deserve to be treated like that. I don't care what he says. He does not have the right to put his hands on you. But she goes, no, you don't, Jackie, don't do that. Jackie, don't do that. You can't, you don't know him. You don't understand, because he's now convinced her, look at what's going on in my life. People have always left me. Now you gonna leave me too? You gonna leave me too? Go ahead and leave me then. Once again, why are you staying here? If I'm so bad, why are you still here in this relationship? So see how fast even though what they did, they should not have done. They are wrong for it. They turn that thing around and convince you that it's you that's the problem. If I was so bad, why would you stay with me? Why would you allow me to keep that up? Oh, you're just being like everybody else that's abandoned me or treated me this way. It's still the fingers pointed back at you. And now you are defending their behavior even to others who may see it. That's the whitewashing that they begin to mess with your head. And this is where we're talking about renewing our mind and how we perceive things. Guys, we got to recognize these demonic attacks, because this is a spirit. Remember, the Bible says we battle not against flesh and blood, but against principality in the heavenlies and the dark forces. And in our mind is where the battle begins to go on. So here is a demonic spirit that is manipulating this person into messing with you in your head, starting to change what you're seeing and making you think that it's not the truth. They get in your head and start feeding you lies, untruths. And how do they convince you of this? By love bombing you. Because I love you is why I treat you the way I do. Because I love you is why what seems harmful to you is actually protecting you. If you love me, then you're going to believe what I tell you is protection. Because guess what? When I'm loving you, when I'm treating you good, when I'm wooing you with gifts and words of adorations, when I'm making love to your mind mentally and to you physically, it is so good. And the endorphins in your body are so high and so stimulated, you're willing to put up with the bad, with the worst. They play off of that, distracting you with compassion. Another thing that they do is it becomes a habitual thing, that you've gotten so used to that going on. Now it's normalcy. So you accept it. It's a natural way that you think that your relationship's supposed to go. You become numb to it almost. They start minimizing or making fun of feelings. So abuser they'll call their loved ones overly sensitive or critical or dramatic. Or they also get annoyed, or they'll make fun of them when they cry, uh, or show emotional displays. And as a result, the person who's getting gaslight will often feel ashamed. And guess what? They begin to withhold their feelings. They become emotionless, because they don't want to be antagonized. They don't want to be devalued. So now they stop showing emotion. Um, it's a possibility that if you're in a relationship right now, and in that relationship you are engaged with a person that never argues or never fights, it's a possibility that they were gaslighted about their emotions, so they've shut down. They internalize everything because somebody badgering them or belittling. That's why it's horrible, parents. It's horrible to tell a little boy he cannot show any emotion. It's horrible to tell a little child, be a man up. Don't be no punk. You don't cry, stop crying, stop crying. Let your child go ahead and cry. It's what they're feeling in that moment. It doesn't matter if they're a girl or a boy. They have that feeling for a moment. Tears is good. The release is good. Discuss it with them, but don't devalue how they're feeling, and don't deny them being able to express it. Crying tears is actually healthy. Can I tell you, um, in this gaslighting, a person begins to die. You might start a form of grieving because no longer do you know who you are. You lose your identity in all this happening to you. And like I said, guys, it doesn't just happen. I'm talking to you right now in the aspects of a relationship, but it doesn't just happen in a man and a woman relationship. It can happen between a mother and a daughter, a father and a daughter, a mother and a son. It can happen in the workplace between you and a boss, or even at the church house. So don't let somebody devalue what you are feeling. If you get into a conversation where that begins to happen, where they turn it around and twist up what you're expressing, as being you with the problem, you might want to step back for a moment and really think about that. Did I really experience that? And don't let them push you into getting in your head and doubting it. Really sit down and evaluate that situation and tell them, no, you're not going to say that I did not feel this or I did not witness. I know what I did. I know what I did. And if it was me, I would walk away from that moment and say, you know what, I'm gonna need a minute to get myself together. Because the longer they talk to you, the longer they can sit there and let that manipulation play over in your head. Especially when maybe you need to go and consult with somebody with wisdom. I would, I would say, even when you go to prayer for God to give you that discernment to really talk about that, I would go to somebody I could trust to be open and transparent with about the conversation, so that you have a fresh perspective of how that sounded. Was I being overly sensitive, or really is this something we need to address? uh they begin to discount your achievements. The person who's gaslighting you often um feels intimidated and jealous of your success. So as a result, that they'll tear down or question various accomplishments. For example, they might engage in backhanded compliments like, it's great that you got that promotion, but it's a bummer that you still ain't getting paid what you should get paid. Really? So you just had to find the negative in it. You couldn't just let me be happy in that moment. you know or man, I really somebody, in this competition, blah 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 blah, my project was picked out of this. Well, oh yeah, you are right, but so and so was probably better anyway, and they probably just felt sorry for you and that's why they gave it to you. Who does that? Who talks to somebody they love like that? And can I tell you, we can even be guilty of that ourselves in having conversations with our children. Um, I didn't realize it, but I guess even encouraging your child to, when they bring home their report card, if they don't have all A's, is that a bad thing? Um, if they bring home C's and B's, is that a bad thing? I know we always want to. I know you can do better. You'll get them next time. How about good job? Why can't we just leave it at good job? I know you did the best you can do. So awesome job. Awesome job. Because sometimes we put unintentional pressure on our children. And now, even though your intent may have been well, the way that they perceived it or the way they heard it was not the way it came out your mouth. Because you saying, you know what? I know next time you'll do better and you'll get that A. You'll study harder. You study longer. We'll work at it and we'll improve that, so that next time you bring home that winning grade. It just means that you got to put a little more time into your study time. It just means that maybe you need to find somebody that did better than you to team up with, so that next time you excel. Well, your child may not hear it that way. What they'll hear coming to them is, you can't do anything. You didn't accomplish that. You suck. Especially if it's something they can continuously have the same issue with. And you're continuously telling them, well, you'll do better next time. You could do better next time. You'll do better. Or, man, come on. I know you. Come on. You're better than that. You're better than that. They don't hear as you're cheering them on. They hear you condemning them. So, and like I said, your intent may have been well, but that's not what your child's hearing. Or it might not be what the person is hearing that you're talking to in your relationship, because of previous experience, maybe, or being told in a previous relationship how horrible they were. being gaslighted by that other person. So, like I said, part of our renewing our mind and how we perceive things so that we're not the person that's gaslighting somebody is we got to look at things from the perspective or the mindset of God. And I know you guys are saying, wait a minute, T, what do you mean I'm gaslighting somebody because I talk to them like that? I'm encouraging. I'm encouraging. But once again, if we don't know the history behind that person, we don't know all the whole story. Sometimes without knowing it, we can fall into that. Does that mean you're a narcissistic person or an abusive person? No, it doesn't. It just means that that's why the Bible says that we should be slow to speak and quick to listen. Because if you get in a relationship with somebody, you'll hear their self-talk too, and you'll know how to engage them in conversation by listening. If we take time to listen to that person's self-talk, how we hear them talk about themselves. That's what I love about being an introvert. I'm a people watcher. So I observe, I pay attention to that. Um, and we need to take the time to do that. And this is one of the things, like, I want to get into doing this. You guys, one of the reasons that God gives us scripture, he gives us the Bible, is it's almost like our manual on how to be a human being, how to be a good Christian, but how to actually just be a human being, how to be a good human being through the eyes and the mindset of God, how to do it God's way. That's what the Bible is about. And these things, guys, when we study to show ourselves approved, when we get into the word of God and we begin to eat that thing, we find that scripture actually jumps off the page, and it becomes life. It becomes rhema to us. It becomes God speaking into us how he sees things and wants us to look at things, how he wants us to sound and feel things. If we look at Ephesians 4:29, whatever version of the Bible you got, if you look at it, this is how we can start to slow down when we get in conversations with people and think, how would God respond? How would God see this thing? It says in Ephesians 4:29, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful. Only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, not yours. Building up that it may benefit those who are listening. So whoever you're talking to, building somebody up, restoring them, repairing them, helping them to go further on, helping them to be more confident, helping them to feel loved, is the language that comes out of your mouth. And that's the same. If how somebody is talking to you, if what they're saying isn't something that's going to build you up into being a strong person, to feeling good, to feeling love, to feeling recognized, to feeling validated, for that's going to affirm you, if it makes you feel anything other than that, it's a problem. If what you're saying is coming out of your mouth doesn't do that, it's a problem. Because that's not how God talks to us. That's not us being like Christ-minded, kingdom-minded. We think above. So everything in our life has already been lived out. We're success. As royalty, we soar. We're victors. We're overcomers. So everything that comes out of our mouth should sound like that. I'm royalty. Good job. Good job. Oh, you got to see? Awesome job. Awesome job. Great job. I know you did the very best. I know you did. And guess what? I'm going to help you study. Um, I'm going to help you get stronger. So your teacher said, what? Okay, that if you do this, well, let's work together. We're going to build you up. But you know what? I'm going to hang this up because that's a great accomplishment. You did a good job. And even if your child doesn't do a C or B, maybe they did a D. Okay, so now what do we do to improve on that? All right, awesome, awesome. So now you got to go. Great, awesome job. Or even when your spouse maybe doesn't do the greatest things. The one thing that I try to tell people is we never degrade our spouse in public. Even if they're doing something foolish, you never put them down in front of other people. Never. What does it say here again? Ephesians 4:29. It says, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths. So you never degrade another person. You never make them feel less than. It says it should be helpful to build others up, build up, not tear down. According to their needs, they need to be affirmed. They need to be validated. They need to be encouraged. That it may benefit those who listens. Guess what? Little pitchers have big ears. If you are degrading your spouse, if you're tearing them down, little kids hear that. And guess what? That's how they deal with one another as siblings. That's how they deal with you as a parent. If your child watches your spouse degrade you or hears them doing that, they're going to think it's also okay for them to talk crazy to you or to talk crazy to others. Or they're going to think that this is how a man's supposed to talk to a woman, or this is how a woman's supposed to talk to a man. They're going to get that. And once again, kids get established by the time their personalities, by the time they're 6. So if you stay in an unhealthy relationship, your children learn those behaviors and they carry those on. That's generational curses as well, y'all. That's how they get blood lineage, stuff like that. That's how it happens because they go through life seeing this through other relationships, aunties, cousins, aunt, grandmama, and them. And then they carry it on. Somebody has to break these bloodline curses. And that begins with you getting your mind right. You changing your speech and your mindset and how you perceive things and understanding you do not take that type of you don't tolerate that. You don't tolerate somebody telling you that you've lost your mind when you know what you've seen. You know what you're feeling. If somebody hurts you, even if, well, you're taking that out of context. That's not how I meant it. It still hurt me. And I need you to understand that. Even if it was not your intent, you need to understand I felt this way. And I appreciate it if you don't do that again. Don't let them convince you that you're over emotional. You had a real, true feeling. Affirm that. You need to recognize that's how you made me feel so that you don't do that again. And if you think that I'm over emotional, then that should make you also cautious in how you talk to me. You now know that talking to me that kind of way makes me feel a certain kind of way. So if you're about God's business, then you're not going to let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth. You're only going to say things that are going to build me up according to what I need, which is validation. I need to feel loved and appreciated. I need to feel like I'm doing something good, so that it helps make me stronger. It makes me want to do better. It makes me want to keep going on. Don't kill me. Don't take my value away. And don't you do that to somebody else. This is what this is all about, guys. We got to get better in our language. And we need to recognize the enemy's tactics. He uses manipulation. This that Jezebel spirit. This is what that is. It's being manipulated. It's being connived. It's being deceived. You know, Delilah did that with Samson. How can you say you love me or you care about me and you won't tell me the truth? She manipulated him because of his desire for her. And people will do that. They'll play you. They'll play you. They'll manipulate you. They'll maneuver you into thinking. Now, he knew he shouldn't tell her. He knew he shouldn't have. But he let that feminine woo convince him. And look what it cost him. Everything. It cost him everything. Another scriptures that we need to remember, because like I said, y'all pay attention to how people are talking to you. If you're dating, red flag. Red flag number one, pay attention how they're talking to you. Another scripture says, 1 Corinthians 13:4-7. 1 Corinthians 13:4-7. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. So they're not going to get jealous of you if they're in love with you, or they're not going to lust after what you have. It does not boast. They ain't going to build their self up and tear you down. I. It's not proud. It does not dishonor others. So it's not going to degrade you or make you feel unvaluable or unimportant or lower than them, and that you should consider it a privilege to be in a relationship with them, and that you're the one with all the issues. Love's not going to do that. It's not going to be self-seeking. It isn't going to look for you to serve it. I need you to do everything. Go get this. You know, and when they talk about a wife being submissive, honey, I don't know where, you know, a lot of the old-fashioned mentality is that a wife, you know, serves the husband first. She goes, gets his meal. She irons his clothes. She stays at home and all that. Well, we know that that's changed. That it don't always look like that. But you shouldn't be made to do that. When we submit, when we're submissive, we do it because honestly, we love you and we want to do it, not because you're telling us that's our job. Your job is to stay home, be barefoot and pregnant, and do whatever I say. If somebody's talking to you or making you feel like that, that's not love. That's not love. Y'all hear me? It keeps no record of your wrongs. They're not going to keep throwing things into your face. You know what? You never can accomplish nothing. Every time I give you something, you're always losing it. You don't know how to hold on money. That's why I need to have your check. I need to control the money. I need to control this. I need to do this because you don't know how to do it. Look, see, I let you have that and look how you do it. You're stupid. You can't do that. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth. So when somebody does you wrong, they're not going to say, well, that's your fault. That's all you. Well, if you listened to me in the first place, we don't talk to each other like that. I warned you. Come on. Encourage. Be uplifting. Build them up. They've already been degraded. They've already been beat up. It always protects. Always trust. They're not vindictive. They're not accusing you or making accusations. Always hopes. That's another thing of faith. They believe in you no matter what. That's why I said, women, I cannot stand to hear another woman tear her husband down. You never do that. I witnessed that a couple of weeks ago. I witnessed this lady sit there. Her husband was talking about some things that he was going through it and was talking about his character, and he was saying some things about himself that he felt was good quality. Well, that ain't been him in a month, or he ain't did that that he can't say he does it now. Psh, that lies. Why are you doing that? That's your husband. Why are you degrading him in public? I don't care if it is truth. You should never do that to your husband in public. You should never do that to your wife. You should never do that to your children. You should never do that to your friend, your best friend, or your friends, to nobody. Always perseveres. I'm going to stick with you to the bitter end. That's what love does. So once again, if you got wholesome talk coming out of your mouth, you're going to show these kind of things. If this is not what you're feeling in this relationship, in the conversation that you're having with somebody, and I'm not talking about that you have to be in an intimate husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend relationship. This is even in your friends' relationship. This is love. If they say they love you, then this is how you should be feeling. You should feel like they have patience with you, that they're kind to you, that they're not boasting about themselves, that they're lifting you up, that they're building you out, they're not seeking their own interests. They're not in a relationship with you because of what they can get from you. Or they don't build you up so they can manipulate you for your context or what you can bring to the table. They're not gassing you, appearing to be one thing, but aren't. And can I tell you, this is how you know this is an attack of the enemy, because he represents everything like God does. Like God has a kingdom, Satan has a kingdom. God has heavenlies, third heavens. Hey, and Satan's all in that second, y'all. The spirit, it says that we wrestle not against principalities. Excuse me, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities in the heavenlies. Well, he has a false heaven. He mimics things of God to glorify him. So he'll make it look kingdom with an alternative motives. And that's to make you turn from God, from serving God to serve him. He will use somebody. He will look at your weaknesses and he'll use those against you. If you're a person desperate to be in a relationship, honey, do you know Satan sees that? And guess what? All them areas that you haven't got healing in, that you're vulnerable, he will find that person to put in your life that will poke at those areas you have not got healed in. That's why I'm telling y'all, if you come out of a dysfunctional family, if you had a bad childhood, get healed before you get in a relationship, so that you can also recognize gaslighting when it begins to manifest in a relationship with you, so that you're not gaslighting somebody. Guys, this is all about renewing our minds. So remember what God says. God says in Ephesians 4:29 that do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building up others according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. So if you're not being talked to right, flag. Call them on it. Call them on it. Don't let them get away. Don't let them get away. Mothers, teach your daughters to pay attention to this with these boys. Boys, young men, pay attention. Girls will manipulate you too. Not all girls are bad now, but I need y'all to pay attention to language. Pay attention to language. Pay attention to how you talk to people. It doesn't sound like Christ, does it? I need y'all to see on that. We're talking about gaslighting. We're talking about how everybody has played a fool at some time in their life. Everybody has played a fool. And we're talking about this thing, gaslighting. Like I said, when somebody makes you question your sanity, when they begin to convince you that you're the whole issue, not them. Like I said, this is good tea, y'all. So make sure you tune in next week to I've Got Favor, where it's your time to shine, where we're going to expose the enemy for who he is, that demon of gaslighting. We're calling it out in this season. So make sure you tune in again. Leave me comments or inbox me if you have any questions, or if you think this is you. I want to encourage you, if you don't know how you can get out of this situation, or you need somebody to talk to, seek a therapist. Please seek a therapist. BetterHealth.com is an agency you don't even have to leave your house behind. You can get a hold of that can help you find a counselor. Also, there's a company called, I wrote it down, Online Therapy Directory. You can look that up on Google. Online Therapist Directory. They can help you find a therapist in your state. Amen. If you're not in Kentucky, you can find a therapist in your area, Online Therapist Directory, or use betterhealth.com. They can hook you up with a therapist where you don't ever have to leave your home, and get somebody to help you process what you may be experiencing, to see if this is actually you, to have conversations with you and help you to begin to process some things. Like I said, make sure you guys tune in next week, because we're going to continue this conversation. I'm just on the tip of this. I want you to recognize it, if it's what you're experiencing in the relationship that you're in, and also recognize it as something that you may unintentionally be doing to your children, people you work with, or your spouse. We're going to get our minds right, y'all. We're going to get our minds right in this season. So make sure you tune in again next week, next Friday, right here on I've Got Favor, where it is your time to shine with me, your host, Prophetess T. Be blessed, y'all. We thank you for tuning in to I've Got Favor, where it's your time to shine with Prophetess T.